Assalamualaikum, my name is Kamala Akmal bin Anwar and I will talk about the introduction of feminism. So feminism can be defined as the belief and aim that women should have the same rights and opportunities as men according to Hornby 2015. Feminists were able to build a new secular concept about fair rights and democracy in 17th and 18th century to argue that women as well as men had the right to education, work and democratic voting. The mass movement for voted for women in the late 19th century and even more recent demands for fair pay and job prospect helped spark these liberal feminist ideas. In July 1857, when Lord Brockham, a long-time activist known for his effort to eradicate slavery and improve education for the working classes, welcomed 15 women and 28 men to his home to examine the establishment of National Association for the Advancement of Social Science and APSS NAPS. Women's experience in social causes was recognized. When NAPS has been introduced through their annual meetings, the presentation of their own papers offered most females their first interpersonal communication exposure and gave them the opportunity to talk to parliamentary representatives and share ideas with other women. In addition to the growth of women's employment as typists, telephone operators, and various workers, have been more than 400,000 women in the working class. So liberal can be divided into several types that are liberal feminism, socialist feminism, and also radical feminism. So liberal feminism is a particular approach to achieving equality between men and women. It emphasizes on the power of an individual person to alter discriminatory practices against women. So it is considered as the most important kinds of feminism which work within the structure of society to integrate women into it. So the next one is radical feminism, that is known as a movement that believes sexism is so deeply rooted in society that the only cure is to eliminate the concept of gender. Socialist feminism is also known as Marxist feminism or materialist feminism, and it is an important movement of feminism because it calls for an end to capitalism through a socialist reformation of economy. Socialist feminists view gender inequalities as intrinsic to the capitalist system, which makes vast profits of women's unpaid labor in the home and underpaid labor in the workforce. So, the feminism idea can declining gender discrimination between men and women in many sector, in various sector. So I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nozulaika binti Samsudin and I would like to talk about the issues in feminism theory. The first issue is the violation of women's rights. Feminism theory of security is linked to the democracy and human rights and allow global and regional military powers including how they conduct their gender relations. If human rights are human rights, then violation of women human rights become international security concerns, but it's not. Hence, the Security Council first mentioned such violence in December 1992 as the case of Muslim women in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This observation formed part of the case of military interventions, and the Clinton administration ordered that the State Department begin to documenting violation of human rights in their human rights reporting. And the United Nations also began monitoring violation against women around the globe as the cases are start to increase time by time in 1994. Therefore, the increasing cases violations of human rights indicates toward the issue important to protect the rights of women from the violence such as rape, forced marriage and domestic violence. Next, the factor correlated to the issue is the relationship between international relation changes and Cold War. The factor is the emergence of the gender and international relation as a field was the end of the Cold War as issue of human rights, the environment, migration, democratization moved to the fore and women issue can no longer be ignored. Consider as the example in 1995, a new guideline on gender by the US Immigration and Naturalization Service. Besides, international women NGOs and women bureaucracy in the United Nations had a few resources and political support to document and politicize sexual violence during the Cold War. The field of human rights security provided no such space for women to speak as women and made no response to the raps. In 1980s, neither Soviet women leaders or UN NGOs raised sexual violence issue relevant to the US supported the patriarchal Afghan Mujahideen, and nor did the US or pro-US feminists seek to expose Soviet hypocrisies on women issue by raising violence against women in the Soviet Union or perpetrated by the Red Army. All the examples of women violation lead to indicate to the issue and show the gender inequality as they does not to take responsibility and serious actions in this case. Lastly, the problem that will arise due to the issue is the increasing number of violence against women such as domestic violence, rapes, slavery and forced marriage. For example, former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon stated that 7 out of 10 women will experience violence in their life, and approximately 600 million of women live in the country, and still domestic violence is not considered as a crime. Besides, feminists will also add the case of rape increased during the time of war, and is even used as a method of ethnic cleansing among the rivalries within their state. It will never enter the typical IR discussions. Thus, the topic of security shows that how gender consideration excluded from the beginning of the discussions and result in policy making that will subsequently detrimental to women. To sum up, women are influenced by war, human trafficking, sexual and other forms of forced prostitutions of war. So that's all from me, and I will pass the floor to the next presenter.
My name is Alisha binti Shahrizal, and the second issue is about the gender issue in the international politics. Even in democratic societies in which gender equality is legally mandated, gender discrimination occurs in politics, both in regards to the presumption about political allegiance that fall along gender lines and disparate gender representation within the representative democracies. Historically, this was even more true when women were neither considered as a full citizens, nor could not vote. This section will trace with the historical development of women achieving the right to vote and will consider recent development as a woman have achieved political power as a representative, in addition being a member in the voting public. Finally, we will consider assumptions made about women's political leanings on the basis of gender. The factor of the issue is because of the lack of political representative, racism and societal mindset. All of the national parliaments at the beginning of 2019, only 24.3% seats are filled by the women. And then with June, 11 head of state women despite progress in this area over the years. This means that certain issues that female politicians tend to bring up, such as the parental leave and childcare, pension and gender equality, laws and gender-based violence, are often neglected. Other than that, it would be impossible to talk about the gender inequality without talking about the racism. It affects what jobs women of color are able to get and how much they are paid. Gender inequality and racism have been closely linked for a long time. Besides, it's less tangible than some of the other causes on this list, but the overall mindset of the society has significant impact to the gender inequality. How society determines the differences of value of men versus a woman plays of the steering role in every arena, even though in the political arena. And there is often pushback following times of the major changes. It also a common for everyone to ignore other areas of gender inequality when there are progress, such as a better representation for women in leadership. Problem that we get from the issue is that women are not able to join the parties and do not have the voting right at all. Women have the minority in the politics. So as we can see in the Spain, during 1988, there are only 25 of the minimum quota of women in party position and electoral list. As for now, it's not more than 60% and not less than 40% for women and men respectively. As we can see, the percentage is increasing year by year, means they are starting to trust women to be in the party. Other than that, United States during the 1920s, women did not have the national right to vote. This means they not believe the decision that has been made by the women. But now, the majority of the voters is the woman, and it make the right decision. Thank you.
My name is Muhammad Akil Azhar, and I will talk about the parties involved in the feminist movement. For a movement to be successful, there must parties that involve like a group, an organization, or figures that move the movement towards the next level. For this, we can trace back in the early 20th century through the women's suffrage movement in America in the 18th, 19th, and the 1920s. During this time, it called the Progressive Era because the movement mainly focused on the right of the woman, but also on the right for vote for the woman in the country. Notable figures like Charlotte Perkins Gilman and Jane Addams are two of the most notable figures that adore this movement. Later on, we move to the mid-20th century. During this time, feminist movement become more famous around the world, and every country had some sort of feminist movement with their own little bit of twist that is suitable to the country. For example, in France, there was author Simone de Beauvoir that promote the feminists through her writing in the book, and the writing in the book itself managed to obstruct the insecurity in the men of France. In Egypt, also there was some sort of feminist movement led by Jihan Sadat, the wife of a former president of Egypt, that is Anwar Sadat. Even though Egypt, the country itself, is a very Islamic conservative country. In Malaysian also, there are some sort of what we call feminist movement that is led by Maria Chin Abdullah. Maria Chin Abdullah is a political figure and also an activist for women in Malaysia. His notable affiliate in Malaysia is an association named All Women Action Society. This society is a very strong society that focus on promoting feminism in the women and also in Malaysia. And she also a member of parliament for Petaling Jaya in current Malaysian politics. Next, we move to the current feminist movement. In the current feminist movement, it was much more organized because feminist movement become much more accepted to the global stage, and also it's mostly related to the woman empowerment. So to make this movement become more apprehendable to the world, they create a UN Women and National Organization for Women, and some other political figures also, like Jacinda Ardern and Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, also endorse the feminist movement. Next, we will like to go to I will move forward to the next presenter.
Thank you. Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Husina binti Sayuti, and I'm going to present about the ideas to ensure that feminism could be implemented or continued. So first and foremost, regarding the problem addressed where the number of violations of women's rights keep increasing, I suggested that international affairs should intensify the specific policy on the violations of women's human rights. It might seem like an obvious point, but we cannot have a free and equal society until everyone is free and equal and until women can enjoy the same rights as men. It is because the current policy was not really effective, as the case of domestic violence is not yet considered as the crime, but that is undeniably unlawful. Also, the number of violence as well as rape cases also keep rising. International affairs really need to intensify this specific policy regarding women's rights. By this initiative, it could help to take care of women's welfare. For example, entering the domestic violence issue into the international relation discussion and formulate the policy or intensify the current policy so that the violence can be avoided. International organizations need to look up this case and determine the best way to measure the understanding of women's rights. Hence, guaranteeing the rights of women and giving them opportunities to reach their full potential is critical not only for attaining gender equality, but also for meeting a wide range of international development goals. Moreover, concerning the problems feminism theory in which women aren't able to join the parties and more worse, they didn't get the right to vote due to the racism and societal mindset. So the initiative to have at least 40% of women representative in international political system would be the best idea to continuing feminism in international relations theory. International political system should allow women's participation in politics because it helps advance gender equality and affects both the range of policy issues that get considered and the types of solutions that are proposed. Research indicates that whether a legislator is a male or female has a distinct impact on their policies priorities. There is also strong evidence that as more women are elected to office, there is a result increase in policy making that emphasize quality of life and reflects the priorities of families, women, and ethnic and racial minorities. Women's engagement is crucial, and it is important to recognize that women are not a homogeneous group. Moreover, not every woman elected to parliament or another legislative body will place women's issue or rights at the forefront of her own agenda. Clearly, women's representation is not the only factor, but it is a critical factor for the development of inclusive, responsive, and transparent democracies. As an instance, in the election of international political system must ensure that there are at least 40% of women representative recruitment in the political system. It is because that the existence of women really gives a good impact, especially in decision making. Therefore, the positive impact of women in politics is undeniable. Male and female legislators must work together in order to solve the myriad of problems in their countries. In order to meet worldwide development goals and build strong and sustainable democracies, women must be encouraged, empowered, and supported in becoming strong political and community leaders. That's all from me. So next, I will pass my flow now to the next presenter.
Thank you. My name is Muhammad Izul Hakim bin Zulkifli, and I would like to conclude about our presentation. First, I would like to recap what is the definition of feminism theory. Feminism theory is a theory that believes and aims that women should have the same rights and opportunities as men. So, why is this theory is important in our life? One of the main reasons why feminist movement is something that young people should be getting involved in is it empowers people. There is a common misconception that only women can be feminist and that feminism only benefits for the woman. In reality, feminism strives for equality of the gender, not superiority for women. And one of the main aims of feminism is to take the gender roles that have been around for many years and deconstruct these to allow people to live free and empower live without being tied down to traditional restrictions. This will benefit both men and women. It is a movement that everyone can and should get involved with. There are many events that have been established for this theory. The major one is International Women's Day. International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievement of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender equality. Significant activity is witnessed worldwide as groups come together to celebrate women's achievement or gather for women's equality. Marked annually on March 8, International Women's Day is one of the most important days of the year to celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness about women's equality, lobby for accelerate gender equality, and fundraise for female-focused charity. Another example that we can see that combat this equality is by volunteer and donation. For volunteer, volunteering with a women's rights organization is the perfect opportunity to learn more about women's rights and contribute to change. Volunteers make a valuable contribution to womankind's work, helping with research, event planning, and communication works. Next, the donation to women's movement and organizations. All over the world, women are coming together in movement to push for gender equality. Yet, too often, women movement and organizations lack funding, which hinders their ability to make positive change in women's life. Funding is crucial to achieving the goal of gender equality and women's rights. It is safe to say that we are closer to a gender equal society than we ever have been, but we still have a long way to go. Getting young people involved with the feminist movement would allow us to achieve these movements much faster. A world where the gender are equal is a dream for many of us. Our generation must look to our own cultures and communities in order to make that dream become reality. Last but not least, we need young people to join in the feminist movement so that they can help to combat this. After all, today's young people are the leaders of tomorrow. That's all from us. Thank you.